I've got the answer to the healthcare crisis. Can we all agree that healthcare in the United States is at crisis level? Give me a show of hands. Okay. It's important for me to make sure that I'm actually in front of the right audience today. One of the problems is that we're not having the right conversation. Everybody's talking about who's going to pay for this, who's going to pay for healthcare. Healthcare is so expensive. The reality is, no one can afford to pay for healthcare. We, the people, cannot afford it. We turned to the government and said, hey, can you give us a hand? And they're like, we don't got much. They turned to the insurance companies and said, hey, you all need to do something about this. The insurance companies were like, nope, hands off. And they turned it back to us, the citizens. But this is the wrong conversation. The answer to the healthcare crisis is not in who's going to pay for it. But I have the answer. It is the most boring, unsexy, banal thing that anyone could come up with. And perhaps that's why we're not talking about it. The answer is vegetables. Right? I think I heard a groan. Vegetables. We all know we're not eating enough. We all know they're healthy. I've been studying nutrition for over 25 years, and everything I've looked at keeps coming back to vegetables. When I look at the top 10 causes of death in this country, 9 of them, cancer, heart disease, stroke, diabetes, kidney disease, lung disease, flu and pneumonia, even suicide, can be impacted by what we're putting on our plate. For instance, let's say you're doing a kick-ass job at consuming vegetables and you're getting the government recommended dose of 3 to 5 servings a day. You are doing better than 87% of Americans out there, according to government statistics. 3 to 5 servings of vegetables a day will reduce your risk of stroke by 32%. That's according to a study published in Nutrient Research and something or another, I can't remember now. I don't know of a drug, a pharmaceutical on the market that can do that. The other thing that no one is talking about is that those government recommendations of 3 to 5 servings a day is actually kind of a low bar. There's no upper level, there's no upper limit to the benefit of vegetables. The more you consume, the better off you are. Out of all the research I've looked at, we kind of cap out at 10 servings a day because hardly anybody is getting that much. But those people who are getting the 10 servings a day, it's amazing how healthy they are, how vibrant they are through the extent of their entire lives. That same study that I just talked about, where you get your 3 to 5 servings of veggies a day and your risk of stroke has dropped by 32%, they looked at those who consumed 6 or more servings a day of vegetables. Their risk of stroke dropped by 69%. 69%. Can you imagine? The World Health Organization says that 80% of stroke, diabetes, and heart disease is due to lifestyle factors. If we put more produce on our plate and we're able to rid of 80% of just those 3 top 10 causes of death in this country, what would that do to the healthcare crisis? My job is to teach people how to consume vegetables. I like to call my students, my clients, future vegetable hunters. And there are 3 things, because I know a lot of you out there are like 6 to 10 servings a day. How on earth am I supposed to do that? What is a serving of vegetables anyway? Is it this much? Is it that much? There's so much confusion about it, and there's so little conversation about it. And I'm here to change the conversation. 3 things that I want you to remember in starting your own vegetable hunter journey. 1, start looking for them. They're out there. They're often hiding in plain sight. But we're not accustomed to looking for them. We live in a culture that does not value health above convenience and cost. Vegetables are not the most cost-effective or convenient foods to consume. And if you are not looking for them, they're not going to show up on your plate. So the first thing to do is look. I tell my clients, with every meal, ask yourself, where are my vegetables coming from? And if you start forming your plate around that, they start showing up. The second thing, because I know there's people out here who really don't like vegetables, is to start with the ones that you do like. Even if you just like carrots, or your 4-year-old will only eat broccoli and nothing else. Start there. And just add a little more, add a little more, add a little more. Go from that average of 1 serving a day to 1.5 servings a day, and then 2 servings a day. And then branch out and try a little bit of carrots with your broccoli and see if that's okay. Expand your horizon slowly, but start with what you already like, because that's easy. And we have to make this easy if we're going to make it sustainable. The third thing I tell my vegetable hunters is to let the pros give you inspiration. What does that mean? Whenever you go out to a restaurant, choose a vegetable-rich dish, because the cooks in the kitchen know how to make vegetables tasty. And they're going to do things to that produce that really awakens your taste buds and enlivens your imagination. And that will give you ideas about how you can do this at home. It might open your eyes to the fact that, gosh, Brussels sprouts can actually taste good. They just need to be deep fried. I'm okay with that, honestly. Start with what works and expand from there. So what happens when you eat vegetables? Every year I do a free challenge called 30 Days of Glorious Greens. And all I ask is for people to put something green and leafy on their plate every day for 30 days. And you know what they tell me? Wow, I didn't realize how troubled my digestion was until I started eating greens. Some people report that their energy levels stabilize. Their brain fog goes away. They can start the workday and end it without that 3 p.m. dip that has them running for Starbucks. I've had people say that they wake up in less pain. They're more mobile because they're less inflamed. And the aches and pains that they blamed on an old mattress was actually due to lack of vegetable consumption. I had a client come and see me a couple years ago who worked in healthcare. And she was diagnosed with prediabetes. And being in healthcare, she knew that if you don't do anything with a prediabetes diagnosis, within 5 years' time, you're diabetic. And with diabetes comes an increased risk of heart disease. I believe it's 2 to 3-fold. Twice the risk of Alzheimer's disease. Increased risk of blindness, amputation, and guess what? 80% of kidney disease is due to diabetes. So we worked together to bring her prediabetes back into normal blood glucose levels. And the foundation of that dietary change was vegetables. 3 months after we started working together, she went back to her doctor for blood work and everything was normal. She took that diagnosis and turned it around in 90 days. That is the power of produce. So today what I'd like you to do is leave this room and put on your vegetable hunter cap and put your best fork forward. And think about how you can put produce on your plate. How can you experience what vegetables can bring to you? And start having a different conversation with your peers, your friends, and your family about what needs to be done to change healthcare in the United States.
Aimee, go ahead and stay up there.
Okay.
Lisa, do you have anything? Put it in front of the camera so she has it on record. If you have any, go up there with it.
Oh, gotcha. I'm like, what?
Duck behind the camera.
All right.
See if we can do it.
Oh, sure. The thing that resonated at the end was I loved the power of produce. And so I almost want you to start with that. When you're, get into your, I have the secret sooner.
Okay.
But I really like the power of produce. How you can work that into the beginning. I'm here to talk about the power of produce, and then also bring your 3 things that you had at the end. You want to tell us what you're going to tell us in the beginning.
Yeah.
Right, so bring that around full circle. Tell us what we're going to talk about. Like I put the 3 things up there, here's what we're going to talk about. Get to that in the beginning. But your movement was really good, like you're coming forward, moving back, your connection with the audience is awesome.
How do I do that without giving away the secret?
You mean the power of vegetables?
Yeah. That being the answer to the healthcare crisis.
I think after you say the health care, I'm here to tell you about the power of vegetables.
Okay.
And,
Yeah.
and then it's a callback as you end with it, so
Great.
it's a good way of breaking
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
it. Roll it.
Yeah, I'm not as smart as Lisa, so,
Stop.
Come on, Earl.
but I did write a few things down.
He's brilliant.
I have a huge star by the power of produce, and I don't know if it's a title, I don't know if it's a tagline, I don't know if it's your key point, but I too really locked in on that.
Yep.
And I thought that was brilliant. I was listening for things that go, wow, that, and when we talk about this, it's the arm-tingling moment. When I think of you, there's only one Aimee Gallo in the world. There are 7.3 billion people, only one Aimee Gallo. And I don't know if there's anybody out there who would coin themselves as a professional vegetable hunter, or a professional vegetable huntress, but I would be thinking about ways to describe and start building your brand.
Yeah.
Another thing that popped into my mind, I think you really did a good job of positioning yourself as the leader of the vegetable hunting movement, right? And one of the things that I've really figured out in building a business, if you can build a community and lead a movement, you know, that's how you can build a tribe. And there's nothing like having a tribe to give you recurring revenues. So be thinking about that. In terms of the stagecraft, you did a really, really good job of moving around left to right, front to back. I would put you in the 85% to 95 or 90% category. And I just keep practicing is the only thing that I could offer. 2 specific things when you were talking about going, and I have to think about doing this backwards, going from 3 to 5 servings, or incrementally increasing your servings per day intake from 1 to 1.5 to 2. You're going that way.
Yeah.
But outside of that, you crushed it. I mean, it was just great.
Cool.
Let's see. You did a good job of citing research. If you're going to position yourself as an expert, know and cite each form of research with confidence and authority. And you only fumbled a little bit once, but and you did a great job. I would just encourage you. There are only 2 or 3 things. Just nail it and crush it, and you're going to be awesome. Yeah.
Thanks, Earl.
Because you were moving, I got
you had a lot of nervous energy.
Yeah.
One of the things you have to be careful of is that this, I
Yeah.
do it quite a bit, I'm exaggerating. So one thing I learned from my coach is like this, then it allows you to either take a step forward this way or to go this way. And so that's easier in
So
terms of that.
stand like that.
You have a lot of shoulder movement. This really exaggerated it. In other words, what you're wearing. So be thinking about that. Watch the video whether or not, because there was one time when your shoulder was like this. And I know that it was just, you were just turning, but it dipped. And so you'll see in terms of the shoulder. So watch for that. One of the other ways, and this is for all of you, is after you get the video, watch it fast forward. Turn the sound on, watch the video. Go fast forward with the sound on to see whether or not you move too much. And you'll see that there was a little bit of pacing. Earl was right in terms of, it was great. And the final thing is when you do numbers, we have a tendency to go 3 things. Make sure the audience knows 3 things. And then when you go to the first one, the second one, they'll hold it because it helps the confidence. And then the other thing is you had your hands over here a lot, which is the reverse thing. But again, it was just nerves. So watch it. What I suggest to people is pretend you have 5-pound weights in each hand. Just imagine that pretty soon your hands will relax like this. And then that leads to Lisa's this power. Great job.
Thanks.